let's look at problem number G, or letter G, I guess. And that is going to be a 10ab minus 21 minus 6b plus 35a. Now, what I notice right off the bat on this first one is if we look at, or on this next one, is if we start out looking at the 10ab and the negative 21, notice those first two terms don't have anything in common. That's your hint that we're going to need to do the following. We're going to need to reorder everything because the first two don't have anything in common. I'm still going to start out with the 10ab. It's just what's going to go with the 10ab is going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to check this off, the 10ab as used. Now I need to decide what's going to go with the 10ab. We said the negative 21 won't work because it doesn't have anything in common, which means I'm either going to put the negative 6b or the 35a with it. It actually doesn't matter which one. You'll just get the same answers just in the reverse order. I'm just going to put the negative 6b in with there first, just because it's the next thing that I see, so negative 6b. And the question then is, which one do I need to put first and which one do I need to put second for our second group? Whereas, do I need to put my 35a first, or do I need to put my negative 21 first? Well, we don't know yet, so what we're going to do is kind of predict the future. We've done this before, is kind of see what's going to happen with our first two, because we know whatever happens with our first two, we want them to match up with whatever we do with our second two terms. So let's kind of predict the future and see what happens with the first two terms first. So the first two terms, the 10ab and the 6b, they have a 10 and a 6, which are both divisible by 2. So we'll start by factoring out a 2. They also both have a b. So I can also factor out a b with my 2. So let's see what will be left over inside of my parentheses. Factoring out the 2 from the 10, you'll get a 5, and you still have an a, the b we pulled out, minus factoring out the 2 from the 6 will leave us with a 3, and the b we pulled out. So we'll be left with a 5a minus 3. Let's look at the second two now that we haven't used, the negative 21 and the 35a. We're trying to figure out what order we need to put those in. Well, notice our leftovers have an a term first and then a term with no variables in it second. What that means is then I want to have my a term first, which means that 35a needs to actually come first. It's a positive 35a, and then we'll put our negative 21 second. So looking at these second two, we've got the 35a and the negative 21. Well, the 35 and the 21 are both divisible by 7. So we can start by factoring out a 7 from both pieces and carrying down our plus sign that was out in front. Then if we pull out the 7 from the 35, we'll be left with a 5a, and then factoring out the 7 from the 21, we would also get a minus 3. Now what we notice is we have this matching 5a minus 3 on both pieces, parentheses around both. So we can factor out a common factor or a matching piece of 5a minus 3 with parentheses around it. And then our leftovers, which will be in their own set of parentheses, will be the 2b plus 7. And if you had reordered this the other way around, you would have gotten the 2b plus 7 first and the 5a minus 3 second. Next, let's take a look at problem H. In problem H, we've got 2ab squared minus 8b squared plus a minus 4. Again, let's split this up into the first two terms and the second two terms. Notice, let's see, what do the first two terms have in common? Well, they have a 2 and an 8, which are both divisible by 2. And they both also have a b squared, which means they both have two b's that I can factor out. So what's going to be left over when we factor out the 2 and the 2b's and will be left inside of our parentheses? Well, if we pull out a 2 and a b squared from the first set, we'll still have an a. Then factoring the 2 into the the 2 into the 8 will leave us with a minus 4. Pulling out the b squared, though, means the b squared will just be gone. Now notice if we look at the second pair, we do have a plus before them, so we'll carry that down. And we do have an a minus 4 for the second pair. Notice they don't have anything in common, so the only thing that we could write in front of that a minus 4 is just a 1, and that wouldn't change anything. It's just unhiding a hidden 1 that's always in front of everything. Well, then notice I have my matching a minus 4 on both pieces. That's my new common factor. So I can factor out my common factor of a minus 4 just like it appears here with parentheses and all. And then my leftovers will go inside of another set of parentheses. My leftovers are going to be my 2b squared and my plus 1. But that's it. I am done. If you reordered it, you would have gotten the same exact answer, but in reverse order, and you could have reordered it. You just didn't need to. So just as a quick summary, what we have covered so far is how to factor out what's in common, which is called a GCF. So factoring a GCF. And we've also talked about factoring by grouping, which is this breaking up the two pairs. Factoring by grouping, though, is only used if you have 4 terms. So in the next section, what we're going to look at is what do you do when you have only 3 terms? We'll look at something that's called AC method next.